Today we're going to be making banh mi. You're going to need cucumbers, fresh onions and garlic, pepper, cilantro, some leftover chicken, some pickled radish and carrots, olive oil, and some nice crisp baguettes. Hello, welcome to another episode of Bville Live. I'm Chris Neely. I'll be hosting the show today. And we are going to make banh mi sandwiches. These are very delicious Vietnamese sandwiches. And a couple days ago I had posted a recipe for pickled carrots and radishes. And that's going to be one of the things that we use in here. If you don't know how to make that, just tune into one of my other videos and I'll show you. So the ingredients we're going to be using today are going to be a fresh cucumber, some small onions, cilantro, and 1 hot pepper. I got all these vegetables at Brady Farm. They were delivered to my door. It's a sustainable local farm. It's an organic farm in Syracuse, and they deliver year-round. It's a real treat to be able to get fresh vegetables throughout the season. So I make a lot of recipes with all their great produce. I have 2 pieces of leftover chicken that I had from chicken the other night, and I had shot a little bit of my video telling you what we were going to do with that. Any kind of meat will do. They do use pork. I'm using chicken. It's a little bit better for you. And a French baguette. I'm going to toast the French baguette in the oven first. And you just take a cookie sheet. You're going to put it in a 400-degree oven. I already have my oven set. I'm going to pop it in there for about 7 minutes. You don't want it to get too toasted, but just enough to crisp up the bread. All right, you're going to need a small saucepan like this. To which you're going to add a small amount of olive oil. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. And what I'm using the olive oil for, okay, now we're cooking. All right, so we have the stove set on medium. We're heating up our olive oil, and we're gonna chop up our onions. Now, usually you add onions and garlic to the meat. The meat I had cooked from a previous night had a lot of onions and garlic in it. So I'm just gonna add a couple of fresh onions just to show you what to do in case you're starting with raw meat. So if you don't have leftover cooked meat, you can just take some raw meat. Chicken breast is fine. That's usually what I make my sandwiches with. And you're going to slice the onion in half and then slice it into these little tiny pieces and put it right into the pan. Now the Vietnamese sandwiches are delicious. I haven't been able to find a shop in Syracuse or near Baldwinsville, so I'm going to make my own because I've really been craving one. When I visit my son's fiance in Charlotte, we always go and have banh mi. They have a Vietnamese community down there, and they have the best banh mi sandwiches around. I'm going to cook up those onions. Now the cilantro does not get cooked up. That gets put on the sandwich last, as does the cucumbers and the pickled radishes and carrots. And we had, usually they use daikon radishes, but I had white radishes in my package this time, so I'm using that. And you can use pretty much anything, but tradition is daikon radishes, but I use what I have. And that's kind of the fun of cooking, is when you use different things that you have around, it makes it really good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and prepare my other vegetables now since I'm chopping. So for the cucumber, you can either peel it or leave the skin on. And I'm going to chop the whole thing down so that I have it in the fridge, because I like to sometimes munch on cucumbers. So I'm going to get a small dish to put them in. And that way I have them for when I'm hankering for a cucumber. So you can take the peel off of them or leave it on, it doesn't matter. I am going to peel it. So let me just grab a peel back here. And peel that cucumber down. Some people like to seed them. The seeds and the peel are actually healthy for you. Since I got this, this particular cucumber was not from Brady Farms, it was from the grocery store. So it feels a little bit of waxy on the outside. So when I have that, I like to peel off the outside. Get rid of that. Those onions smell wonderful. That and the cilantro, this is going to be heavenly. So just stir your onions around until they become translucent. Keep them at medium heat. And then go ahead and slice your cucumber down into slices. So usually, you know, not too thin, not too thick. About like this, they go on a sandwich. So I'm going to put them in my bowl over here. And, you know, you can use them in lunch boxes for kids' snacks, or I like to keep them in the fridge. You open up the fridge, not sure what I want. If I see something healthy, I'm more apt to take it if it's in a glass bowl. So I read a lot about blue zones and watch a lot of their videos. And one of the things they were talking about is to keep fruits and vegetables at eye level in clear glass bowls in your refrigerator. That way when you open them up, or your kids open up the fridge, they're going to they're going to zero in on the healthy treats instead of going for unhealthy treats. And hopefully you're not keeping any unhealthy treats in your fridge, but you know, kids will be kids. So I have those all nice and sliced up. They'll be for a sandwich. And you just keep them in a bowl like that off to the side. The cilantro, all you have to do is rinse it off. And the little pepper, I'm going to prepare that now. The onions are cooked up. I'm going to add my chicken to that now. I just got my baguettes out of the oven, so they are nice and crisp. They're going to be ready. I've chopped up my cucumbers. I have my carrots and pickles lined up. Cilantro has been washed off. That's all you have to do with that. And I have one little tiny pepper, because they usually put peppers in their sandwiches to make them a little bit spicy. Now you can throw this in with the meat, which I think I'm going to do, just because the pepper that I'm using tends to be a little bit on the hot side. And I'm going to get rid of the seeds in there. The other night I was putting my contact lenses in after I was handling this, and I just about went through the ceiling. So I got to make sure I really wash the oil off my fingers really well. And the seeds tend to be very hot, so I'm going to get rid of as many of those as I can. So I'm just going to slice them up. In the restaurants, they'll have sometimes a jar of the peppers right out that you can just make them as spicy as you want. But I'm just going to chop them up fine and throw them in with the onions in the pan. That kind of helps tame them a little bit. Get rid of those extra seeds. And then the chicken, I'm basically going to just debone this chicken thigh that I have here. And if you have extra meat, that's fine. I'm also going to be making soup this week. So if I have extra minced meat up that I've cooked up, I'll throw it in the pot. I'm not too worried about the peppers, because in a pot of soup, they'll boil down. And you can actually throw these bones in too. So just slice up the meat. They usually shred it or sometimes slice it up. Any way you want to prepare it on your sandwich is fine. There's some greens that are still in with this meat from when I made the chicken the other night. It was delicious. We made it with greens and onions and garlic. You can't go wrong with that combination. So this actually is enough meat for 2 sandwiches. That's 1 chicken thigh, and that's a lot of meat. So I'm just going to put that in the oven, cook out each pan like that. I am going to cook up the other one only because I have it out. I'm going to heat down a little bit. Give it a little stir. Since I have a pepper in there, I don't like it. I don't want it too hot. You can, make it as spicy as you want, but I don't like it too hot. So I'm going to put some extra meat in there to tone it down. And you know, it's pretty easy. You just cut around the bone, follow the natural curve of the bone to take the meat off. And if you have a little bit of meat left on the knuckles on the end, that's fine. It'll come off in the soup pot. And if you tune in tomorrow, I will be making some mung bean soup. And I'll show you how to make that tomorrow with leftover chicken. Just a little bit of skin on it, so we'll take that off. And just slice your chicken up, so, or you can shred it with a fork, that's fine too. Just like that, and put it right in the pan. Let that cook and get rid of this. You're basically just heating the meat because the meat's already been cooked. So the onions and the peppers are the biggest thing to cook. So you can add some salt and pepper to this. I always add cumin and turmeric to everything I cook because it's really, really good for your heart. And when I get my stitches out next Monday, I'll be happy because it's really hard to not have the use of my right thumb. Had some minor surgery. But that'll be over in a few days. So I'm putting turmeric in there. And I'm going to put a little bit of cumin in there as well. When you put the spice in, you really can cut back on your salt, which is really a good thing to do. So I'm going to turn my heat back down to medium, or back up to medium. It was down at low, and give that a stir. And just let that heat up a little bit. Put a lid on it. Okay, put it on the chicken for now. And I'm going to get my bread ready. Alright, so our meat is done, and I have the lid on it. I turn the heat off. I'll show you what that looks like. It smells wonderful. Onions, garlic, peppers, and meat. Okay? When you go into a Vietnamese restaurant to order banh mi, they usually have the meat pre-cooked and they'll just throw it on the grill and cook up the onions right there in front of you. So there was a French influence in Vietnam, and one of the things that they introduced to them were the baguettes. So you take your baguette and you slice it open. Now they usually make their own bread, sometimes they have it delivered, but you want a nice crispy bread, and that's why the French baguettes work so well. Okay, you're going to open it up like this. I'm going to make two, one for myself and one for when my son comes home. It's a hard life being a doctor. He just literally pulled in the driveway and I saw him there, and he just turned around and pulled out again, so he must have gotten called back to the hospital. They deserve every penny they get, believe me. Alright, so what you're going to spread on the bread is a mixture of mayonnaise, and that's probably about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, maybe a little bit less, and sriracha sauce. If you don't have sriracha sauce, you can use some other kind of hot pepper sauce. And it's a lot of times in the restaurants they'll put this out on the table for people to make it hot or as hot as they want. I'm just going to mix that around a little dish like that, mayonnaise and sriracha, and that's what we're going to spread on our bread. Now you can also make this with non-fat Greek yogurt. if you want. And that'll cut down on some of the fat calories. And that was just enough for 2 sandwiches. So I think it was probably about a tablespoon. They slather it on in the restaurants. I just put it on like that. That's fine. Okay, and now we're ready to assemble our sandwich. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put our meat on our bread. And it's piping hot, so this is going to be perfect. And I think because my son's not here yet, I'm going to wait to put his meat on so his sandwich doesn't get soggy. So I'll just make one and leave the other one waiting. So since I'm using 2 sandwiches, making 2 sandwiches, I'll put the meat on there. Put the lid back on for him when he gets home. I'll move his plate. Okay. So to the what you're going to layer on next are your cucumber pieces. So you have your meat and your bread here, and you lay your cucumber sandwiches on top. So it's a combination of hot, cold, and you can put on, I like a fair amount of cucumbers, so I put about 5 slices on there like that. And then you lay your cilantro, a fair amount of cilantro. If you don't like, you know, the stems, you can cut off some of the stems and just leave the tops on. I like cilantro, so I'm going to put that on there. It smells wonderful. Fresh herbs are really, really good for you. Okay, so about yay amount of cilantro, specific amount. Okay, and now I've been dying to try this. This is my carrots and radishes that I made. Now let me get a spoon for that. And this has been sitting in the fridge for about 3 days. So I'm going to say this is a fairly large spoon. So I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons. You can use as much as you want of that homemade pickled carrots and radishes, and that really makes the difference. You can use this on any sandwich or as a side dish. And that is it. That looks absolutely delicious. I can't wait to dive in. Bon appetit. Enjoy.